stuff to the internet for about 22 years. So back to the Spyglass Mosaic, I remember those days. It was really simple, or complicated with all that. I've been doing Agile things for about 15 years, I guess. More Agile, because I suffered through lots of critical change, big path, more people come in. So I'm an Agile coach, and I'm also a qualified executive coach, and personal coach, and team coach. And I'm also a trainer. So I'd like this to be a little bit interactive. So the first half is going to be me talking through a bunch of slides. And I'll maybe asking a few questions. So I'll give a bit of a shout out if you've got some sort of comment about what I'm talking about. The old thumbs up. Yes. Thumbs down. Top of the heads. Talk louder. Yeah, try. Need a mic. So what are we going to look at today? In the second half, we're going to look at the hidden connections in teams. Connections we don't often see. We're going to try and unmask them. I was trying to think of a way to kind of frame this talk. I've given it a couple of times, and I've changed it every time. And I've kind of settled on this, right, which is that most teams fail. Most teams fail to be teams. Yeah. Most teams end up being groups of people who sit close to each other. Maybe they've got the same team name. Yeah? Team Unicorn. But they don't behave like teams, and they don't end up doing what teams do. Right? And we'll discuss what teams do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a number of things that you can think about. So you might want to note each one down as you go and tick them off as to whether you're doing them or not. But the research says, so this is based on good 20 years of research. The principal research comes from somebody called Hackman. So I really recommend if you're interested in teams, you look up Hackman. And he's got a number of researchers that worked with him. 20 years worth of research that says these are the sort of 15 things you need to do in order to give your teams half a chance of success. Right? So there's no guarantees, but if you don't do them, it's probably not going to work out very well. Obviously, some are more important than others, and context plays a role, and there's some finessing to do. But you need to do quite a lot of work to lay the foundations for a good team. So, this is what we're going to cover. Initially, we're going to look at what is a team? Is it a team? Is it a work group? Is it a cohort? What is it? What's the difference? Because you all probably work with teams or in teams. There is a technical research definition of a team. We'll look at that. Then we'll look at why most teams end up getting stuck in that forming, storming sort of phase, or mostly storming, reforming, storming again, reforming, compressed, reforming. Get some new people. Let's get a ping pong table. Let's go on an away game. Because that will make everything better. And it does, but you've got to do these other things first. So first, a question. So if you could turn to the person next to you, just pair up very briefly, have a tiny discussion about what makes a team a team. What is it? What's the There's a chair down here. Right there. That's my staring chair. Just that. I'll leave it. Okay, so anybody want to volunteer some ideas? You're all going to be right. It's fine.
A common goal.
Common goal?
A group of people united by common purpose.
Common purpose?
Procedure.
Procedure?
Procedure.
Oh, trust in each other. Okay.
Each other's back.
Having each other's back.
Communication.
Collaboration. What was that?
Communication.
Communication. What about the communication?
It's good.
Good communication.
One
Anything
for
from
all.
over here? Sorry? They've taken all the good ones.
One for all for one.
Yes?
Learning, feeling you can change something.
Feeling. Contribution.
Trusting that everybody's putting the team goal ahead of their own personal interests.
Okay. Team goal ahead of their personal interests.
Identity.
Identity of the team. Yeah.
A multiplier more than some of its parts.
Yes.
Learn together.
Learning together. Good.
Mutual respect for specialisms.
Mutual respect
For specialisms.
for specialisms. Okay. Good. So, I'm going to give you the formal definition here.
Whose formal definition?
I'm going to tell you. This is from The Wisdom of Teams by John Katzenbach and Douglas Smith, both researchers. And this definition has been taken on by other people as the kind of relatively standard definition of a team. So a team is a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose, set of performance goals and approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. Now, nice catchy definition. I really like this. Right? Team members work for the team. Not with the team, they work for the team. Yeah? We all work with people just by going into the office. Or the beach, depending on where you work. Right? Team members work for the team. Not with the team, there's a difference. Right? With is just close, they're just kind of close. Every now and then. But we work for the team and we work in service of the team, not oneself. I prefer this definition. Just because it's a bit more touchy-feely and it's easy to remember. Right? So they work for the team. So, who said the whole is greater than the sum of the parts? You. Do you know who said that quote?
Me.
Who said it 5 minutes before you? Any ideas? I was amazed when I discovered this. Right? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Aristotle?
Yes! Well done. So that was a long time ago, right? So we've known this for a very, very long time. We've appreciated, right, that teams should create a whole that's greater than the sum of its individual parts. Right? So we've appreciated this idea about teams for a very long time. Which is why everybody works in teams, because we just think that magically, hey, you're a team. Now go away and be more than the sum of your individual parts. And we've got an away day next week, so it'll be fine. Here's some other little quotes to think about in terms of systems of people, or team systems. Everybody is right. Everyone in the team's right? All their perspectives are right, but only partially. If you lead teams, you need to hold that very close. And that's second, put it there. If you lead teams, or manage them, you might talk about business. Everybody's right, but only partially. And the final thought here, which is about the...
You said that? You said that with
No idea. No idea. It was a coach. A systems coach. I don't know, I can find out. I'll tweet it later. Okay. The last thought here kind of links to the first one, right? All natural systems are generative and creative. So all natural systems are going to generate and create. And you can create conditions where that's much more likely to be the generation of good things and the creation of good things, rather than the creation of a negative environment, because that could be easily be created or generated. Right? And obviously we want to get to a positive place. So just a quick word about what teams are better at. Why don't we have teams? So being more than the sum of their parts, they're better at solving complex problems. And again, this is all from the research, so it's not just, hey, they're just great. So they're better at solving complex problems. They come up with more innovative solutions. So if you look at some of the really big things that have been solved, so the really classic one that's been studied really, really well is the development of the atom bomb, for example. That was a team. It was an amazingly innovative solution for its time. It's a big, big step change to do that. You couldn't have got one star person doing that. It had to be a team. In fact, they worked 5 or 6 teams in. They did set-based design. 5 or 6 teams all set off at the same time, and they converged on the solution in the end. And teams tend to do it quicker. Now remember, this is teams, not groups. So the context here is, if you're working in a group, probably that stuff doesn't hold true. So maybe that's one way of knowing whether you're in a group or a team. So let's look at what the research says. Well, the rest of these slides are all about how to lay the foundations, the groundwork, okay, to allow your teams to be successful. It doesn't mean they will be successful, but this is how you give them half a chance. And if you don't do this stuff, it's very unlikely. So teams need to be a bounded social system. So there's an easy way of testing for that. You ask a team member, who's on the team? And when they say blah 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 blah, there's that other person. Sure if they're right, that's not a bounded social system. Because we don't know, are they on or off? So I don't know. Alright, it needs to be a bounded social system. And in the exercise at the end, or the little workshop we're going to do at the end, we'll look at some bounding. Team members need to be interdependent on each other, right? If you can go off and do the work on your own, why are you in a team? One of the big things I see with a lot of Agile teams is work for individuals. The work all gets broken down so individuals can do it. Sometimes the work gets kind of pre-tuned and handed to the individuals on the team. Here, you do this, you do this, you do this. Even in poor systems, you may be pulling individual work. Now, if you're doing that, you're not interdependent, right? You can go away and do it on your own. Why would you have the hassle of having to work with another human being if you can go off and do it on your own? Cooperation is different, right? So it's much easier to sneak off and do it on your own. So teams, the work has to be interdependent, it has to be team-shaped work, right? That's what they say, teamwork. And teamwork is the work that only teams can do, not individuals. And the last thing on there is that the team should be stable. Now again, context will play into this as to what that means in your context, right? How stable, for how long. But as stable as possible, right? Don't change people in and out of the team all the time. You can have maybe a larger pool of people, but again, the quality of work is going to go down. The teaminess of the team will reduce. Right? So the team should be stable. You need a compelling direction. I think we've had some talk about this already today. You absolutely need to have a compelling direction. Teams need to have a purpose, right? It needs to be clear, it has to be challenging, it has to be consequential. They have to know why we're doing this work. When I do some work, I need to know gone bad? Did somebody's life change because of it? Did it matter? Yeah? So you need a clear purpose, a true north, as it were, because that orients where you're going. If you don't have a direction, very likely you will get wherever you don't have a direction. Who wants to go there? Right? You have to have a direction, because then that's where you're going to go. Everyone's going to be facing in the same direction. We're going over there. That's where we're going. It should be challenging. Right? Makes it interesting. Obviously, not too hot, not too cold, not too challenging that stretches people to breaking point, but not so easy that you can just turn up and just surf the web. And it should be consequential. Now that doesn't mean you have to change the world. I've worked with BAU teams, support teams, all kinds of teams that do work that you wouldn't think was consequential. But as soon as you start to expose where their work goes and how it actually changes things, and maybe you've got to do a bit of digging for that, talk to the people who are paying for these people, if you don't know what the consequence of the work is, right? Why are we doing this stuff? Why are you paying all this money for people to do it? Find out, and you'll find out what the consequence is, right? And feed that back to the teams on a regular basis. There's nothing more demotivating than doing a bunch of work and it just goes into a black hole. I don't know. Why did I get up at 6 o'clock this morning and travel for 2 hours to get to work to do that thing that has no consequence? Right? So give people an understanding of why their work matters. Even if it's tiny things. People just need to know that somebody appreciated the work that they did. Right? The impact of the work. And so there's a little note here about means versus ends. So with teams, you want to be defining the ends. This is where we want you to go, not the means, right? That's down to the team. If you, as an individual, can define what the team should be doing, then it's probably not teamwork, is it? It's individual work, because an individual just defined it. I mean, I know this kind of sounds commonsensical, but you'd be surprised at the amount of teams who have the means defined, no clear ends, no consequential work, no challenge, and it's not very clear why we're doing it, right? But just get on with this, follow these instructions. So, any thoughts on those things before I move to this final piece? Yeah.
Challenging and consequential.
Yeah.
Putting my Prince 2 project manager hat on for a moment, that sounds like risk. That sounds like something we should be seeking to eliminate. Because if we take on a challenge and we fail to meet the challenge, the consequences could be bad. So are those things not perhaps at odds with what many project managers are trained to eliminate?
Probably, yeah.
Oh dear.
Probably definitely at odds with what a lot of people would like to eliminate. But the whole point of having a team is to explore options and solutions that one single project manager hasn't thought of. Right? So the idea that you could de-risk it, I mean, you can de-risk it to a certain degree. Right? You can make it safe to fail, which we will talk about a lot, which you're probably going to have to do if you're exploring new territory, or you're letting a team come up with a solution. I mean, the flip side of that is that the risk is you might produce something amazing. Right. So this is the scaffolding that supports all that previous stuff, right? So get all that other stuff done. Here's the scaffolding. People composition. You're going to have the right people on the team. Now that doesn't mean you have to have a team full of ninjas. In fact, if you have a team full of ninjas, it's really not very good. But you have to have the right skill sets. Somebody mentioned respect for individual skills. You've got to have the right skill sets, right? The right puzzle pieces for people to work together, or you have to have the right abilities to grow them in that team. So the right mix of skills. Diversity is really important, right? The more diverse a team tends to be, the higher performing it can be. If you go too far with that, too much diversity, you get too much friction. But a bit of diversity is good. So very briefly, there was a study, I can't remember who did it now, I think it was Anita Woolley, and she studied what happens to team solving abilities when you get a team of all men and you put a woman on the team. Well, guess what? They get a lot better at solving problems. And a lot better than that individual IQ would, at first, you'd assume. would change, right? So if the person's got an IQ of 110, a woman, you put them on this team of all men, the problem-solving ability will go up by 200 points, right? So much more than just the intelligence quotient of that one person. So that's diversity. Again, it's probably the same the other way around. A team of all women, if you add a man to it, you probably get the same thing. So diversity is good. Size is really important with teams, right? The bigger a team is, the harder it is for you to have that social bounded cohesion, right? The harder it is for you to know everybody. You've got a team of 20 people, what's the chances that you actually know half of them? That's 20 drinks you've got to go out on. That's 20 lunches you've got to go to. Right? So as small as possible, more than 2, because that's a pair, technically not quite a team. And less than 9. And again, the research suggests that less than 9 is a good idea. 5 seems to be a good number. Somebody was saying, well, what happens when you go above 9? We'll split the team in 2. Have 2 teams, or 5, 4, 2 5s, whatever it is. Right? So the smaller the better to get the job done. Because basically the social bonds get weak. Again, you need a team task. Remember I was talking before about the interdependence? Yeah, giving them pre-tube work. Here you go do this. You go do this. You don't want that. You want a team task. You want a big, meaty problem. Here you go, team. You've got to solve that problem over there. Here you go. You've got all the skills. Go away and do it. Solve the problem. Otherwise, why have you got a team? It sounds to me that people put together teams and give them individualized work. They turn Java coders into Java typists, essentially. Yeah, type this in. Strongly defined team norms are important. Right? You need to know, for reasons of psychological safety, so you've probably seen all the research out of Google, which basically just kind of reaffirmed all the previous research for 25 years. Psychological safety is a big deal. You get, part of getting psychological safety is having team norms. Being comfortable to know whether it's appropriate on this team to swear or not. Do people care, do they not? For example, right? Does this team want everybody to be in at 9 o'clock? I don't know, but you set up some team norms, right? And the team agrees those. And they evolve over time. And in Agile we call them working agreements, so you've probably got some already. Right? And these can be both behavioural and procedural. Right? So how are we going to be together? Right? What things don't we do? And what things do we do? And then the procedural stuff. Right? We're going to have meetings like this, we're going to do these kind of check-ins, whatever it might be. Really important thing, delineated authority. A team needs to know where does its boundary of authority begin and end. There's nothing worse than being on a team, coming up with a solution to something, or doing some work, right, and having your boss come along later and go, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. That's above your collective pay grade. Yeah? No, I make those decisions. You can't make those decisions. So a team needs to know where can we make decisions and where can't we make decisions. Otherwise, they're going to waste an awful lot of time making decisions in areas where they don't have any authority. And once that starts happening, once those decisions get countermanded, they stop making decisions, right? Nah, not my decision. I don't know, let somebody else choose that. Wait for the boss to decide. Right, that's not great for a team.
Sorry, how would you have those documented for the team? How would you come up with those?
Discussion. Ask the business, ask your sponsors, ask your team leader, right? Find out. And that's going to be negotiated as well. Sometimes it's going to be fuzzy boundaries, you're going to step over them and go, ooh. And then you need to discuss as part of your team norms, well, what happens if we do step over the fuzzy boundary? Maybe it's okay, maybe you just got to tell somebody. Well, we made a decision that wasn't within our remit. Do we get to pull it back, or do you want to okay it, or what do we do with it? So, finally, organisational context. Reward systems. So, how many of you have worked on teams where each individual person has their own set of performance goals that are contrary to the team's performance goals? Me too. I have worked with lots of clients where that happens. You think, why are these people not working together? Why are they working against each other? Well, because that's how they get highly rated. So however you reward people, financially or pats on the back or whatever it is, whatever kind of KPIs you give people, that's what they're going to work towards. And remember we talked about teams. Yeah, teams working for each other in service of the team. In order to do that, the reward system has to be focused on the team and the team's goals. Yeah? At the very least, the individual goals have to be well aligned with the team goals. Training, there has to be training when it's needed. Right? Why wouldn't you do that? You've heard I'm sure you've heard Alan, I don't know who it was now, was it Richard Branson, who said, well, allegedly, was talking to his board or something about training people. Oh, what if we train them and they leave? He says, well, what if we don't train them and they stay? Right? So train your people, give them training, they'll do a better job. Funny that. Teams need information, they need access to all the information systems that they need access to, whatever that is in your context, right? Don't withhold the information. Lots of very siloed, compartmentalized companies have siloed, compartmentalized information. Oh no, can't share that. Can't share the sales data. Can't tell you that. You'll have to go up and around and up to the FD and back down again, and then maybe you'll get the data you need to get your job done. Right? They need the information. They also need sufficient material resource to get their job done. I know it seems obvious, but I did some work once for a large investment bank, and the procurement team decided that everybody was going to have the same laptop. Guess how many megs of RAM that laptop had? Yeah? So you've got the PA, who's got the same laptop as the algorithm coder. Brilliant. Absolute genius. So how long do you think it takes to build your algorithms on a machine with 512 megs of RAM? So of course, the developers broke all the rules, went out, opened their laptops and bought some more RAM. Right? They had to do it themselves just to get their job done. Make sure you're not making crazy decisions about material resources. Give people the resources they need. Don't over-constrain them. Right, finally, I didn't make this up, this is in the research, coaching. If you do all that other stuff, then some good coaching can really help your teams. If all that other stuff is a mess, and the coach is not allowed to fix it, then the coaching won't make any difference, right? It's like the away days. You go on an away day, it's great for 12 hours, 24 hours, and it's all back to normal again. So if you've got good conditions for your team, coaching can really, really, really help them excel, right? Two main types of coaching: team dynamics, right? So how people get on, interpersonal stuff, about business, and then task and process coaching, how to do your job better. Right? It should be pull-based, so ideally teams should be able to pull on that. They should say, oh, we need some coaching on pair programming or test-driven development, or I don't know, whatever it is. Or we've got a bit of a sticky issue. We've got a couple of team members who are upset with each other. Psychological safeties through the floor. We need some team dynamics coaching. We need somebody to come in and help us negotiate a truce, or whatever it might be. And again, this coaching should be well timed, right? This is very important as well. Beginning, middle, and end. So when the team forms is a very important time. Midway through towards that goal is another good time to stop and retrospect and think, oh, how have we done? And then, again, at the end, for the next iteration, the next sprint, whatever it is. So it's quite well timed in terms of the way Scrum does stuff, in terms of the way you can do it with Kanban and Lean and lots of other things. So beginning, middle, and end. Now, on to the interesting stuff. So, social physics. There's a chap called Sandy Pentland who wrote a book called Social Physics. I highly recommend it. It's essentially about social capital, but he's a physicist, so he called it social physics. And that talks about all kinds of things. One of the really important things, again, is psychological safety. Teams with high levels of psychological safety take more risk. Now, that's interpersonal risk, right? So I've had an idea. Dare I say it in front of these people, or are they going to embarrass me? Are they going to make me feel stupid? Or do I work in the kind of team where there are no stupid ideas? Psychological safety is really important. Connections outside the team are really important as well. Right? This is the social capital angle of things. Right? Teams increase their social capital. They do a lot better. Right? There's some research that showed that, I think it was an HP, they increased their team's performance by making the dinner tables and the lunch halls slightly longer. You fit more people around them. And suddenly people were sitting with people who work on their teams and they were making connections. Right? And it's all about the amount of energy, engagement and exploration that you put into your social connections. And that's what we're going to look at next. How long have we got now?
You have 15 minutes.
15 minutes, alright.
Maybe 20.
We're going to have to be really organised about this. Because we've got to do an exercise with that string. So we're going to explore this energy engagement and exploration stuff. Now, if everything that I've talked about has just gone right through, you thought, oh, what is all that stuff? I've created a team survey based on all that research. That's where it lives. I will tweet it. It's free. It's a beta though, so if it breaks, it melts your phone. Right? It's about a 15-minute survey, and then it will score you on each one of those things that I've just talked about. Right? And then you can look at that and say, oh, hold on a minute. Our team think that we don't have very good delineated authority, or whatever it is, right? And then you can use that to explore the whole thing. So I'll tweet that later. Now we're going to look at string theory. Who's got string? Hold the string up. We've got a bit of quite a lot of string over there. Got more string. Any string over? How many strings over there? One. Do they? It's going to be tricky for so many people. So just briefly, this is what we're going to look at. On the left-hand side there, you've got a team system. Right? It's very important. It's very important that if you're managing a team, working with a team, trying to get the best out of a team, coaching a team, whatever it is, if you don't do this stuff on the right-hand side, it seems slightly counterintuitive, right? But you don't have side conversations with people, you don't manage people individually, you manage the system as a whole. And that's what we're going to explore. So a systems-oriented leader will manage the system, right? They don't step inside there, start having side conversations, start trying to sort things out between people. Maybe do that through a coaching type technique, but not through a management technique. So don't manage the individuals, manage the team, manage the system. So again, it's back to systems thinking. Look at the whole system and manage that system. So, leave that up there. So this is what we're going to do, we'll try and do. I'd like you to get into groups of 10 and stand in a circle with a piece of string, with a ball of string if you could. So you're probably going to have to move the chair. And self-organise into groups of 10, please. And then we'll see if we've got enough string. If we don't, then come to the front. You're going to have to stand in a circle though. It can be quite tight circle, sure. String over here. String over here. Nice string. You need 3 people over there. Any spare people? There's a team over there that can use you. 10's quite a big number, so if you don't have exactly 10, that's fine. Just try not to go over 10 because it'll get messy. Right, we all stable? Who's got the string? Right, so take the end of the string in one hand. Hold on tight to the end of the string. We're going to be making a web here. Wait a minute, it's going to open it. Okay. Hold on tight to the end of the string, yeah? Don't let go of the end of the string. The ball, in a moment, you're going to pass to somebody else. But the end of the string, you've got to hold on to. Are we clear on that? Yeah. All good? Let's just wait till everybody's got their string. Right, are we clear? You have to hold on to the end of the string. Yeah? Okay. Not so much that it cuts off any circulation. Right, so this is the exercise. It's very simple. What I'm going to ask you to do, if you're holding the ball of string, is to say something about yourself. Now, don't say anything about work. It's too easy. It's anything, right? I own a yellow car, for example. Yeah? I have a pair of blue shoes. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. I've got 2 children. Yeah? Now, the rest of you, listen out. And if you hear something that you also have, you can say, me too. Yeah? And I want you to do it like this. Can you just practice quickly? Me too. Yeah. Good. And a little shake as well. Right. And then when that happens, the person who's holding the ball of string will gently toss the ball of string to the person who said, me too. Now, if there's more than one person, you just choose which one to give it to, okay? Yeah? You pass it to that person, and then the person holding the ball of string carries on, says something about themselves. And we carry on until we've got a web. Yeah? We good? If nobody says me too, you think of something else about yourself. Yeah? Nobody else has got a yellow car. Okay, right. I live in Birmingham. No? Yeah. Alright. Yeah. I own a cat. And you keep going until somebody says me too. Okay? So this is why we've got to try and stand in a circle, because you want a bit of a web. Alright, let's go.
I'll be honest, smiling. I have 2 children. I'll be honest, happy.
Me too. I have children. I'm not going to say how many because
I got a kid.
no one's going to say.
Me too.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Hold the string nice and tight. Yeah, you've got to make nice tight links between people.
Me too. This is sort of a problem.
Nice and tight.
My name Quasi is on Sunday.
Me too.
I have 1 kid. This is
I've been to Italy several times.
I like gumball.
I live in Leeds. I drive an Audi. Me too. We're not related. I live in a brick house.
Let's see.
Try a meat spoon strike.
There we go.
I have been to
I live in a flat.
Me too. But where is the
teams go like this. Have somebody or people who don't have connections. But you can't see them, right? It's a great way of visualising the connection.
I like watching TV.
So have a think about it. That's your purpose. Supported by your connections.
Right.
Okay? Try and keep it Alright, so who doesn't have a connection? It's too late. Who's the last person who had a connection? You were the last person. No, who was the person who had a connection last? So who stood there on their own for the longest? What does that feel like? Awful! What's that like on a team then? What does that do for a team? The thing is, right, is that this is a great way of visualising the connection. Normally you can't see. So normally you don't know who's disconnected. Normally you've got no idea that there's one or two or three people who are just don't have any social contact, no connections. Now these connections is what supports your purpose, or as I like to call it, the red folder. They literally do support your purpose. Without these connections, you can't support. Because again, a team has a shared purpose, and they work for each other in support of that. So carry on.
Okay.
Right, stop.
Should we carry on?
Yep.
Yeah. I have Netflix.
Me too.
There we go.
Oh yeah, right.
I like gardening.
Doesn't like flowers.
These connections you can now visualise.
I like to see it. Sounds close. I like Agile.
Now we have to see if we're agile enough to be able to get into that side of the room without losing our purpose.
Suddenly there are no connections.
Lost our purpose.
About how the journey's I got lost multiple times.
How did you
Used to have it, yeah.
If you carry on with the virtual piece of string, you still keep the connection going, just no string. You had a live.
I got a red card. No, mocha red card. It's a brown card. Let's go. I like swimming. I was playing cards.
I paid for myself to come here. I like Agile on the beach.
Me too.
I like
I like going for walks.
Okay. I like Fallout.
There we go.
It's a good test.
I like TV series Preacher.
I like going to the cinema.
Me too.
I love theatre.
Me too.
They've played it before.
I lost that
Bring it back.
That's very good deals. Because everyone needs to have an Audi store.
I have.
Nobody else think I didn't have a problems with the bus this morning.
Teamwork, right?
I like hanging out with my friends.
I'm alone with friends.
I like C#. I like seashells.
Me too. We like cooking. Oh. I probably mean shoes, not shoes. Okay. Shoes on the let's keep at this thing.
I am married.
There we go. That's
Right, so I think we're running out of time. Next instruction. Final instruction. I won. Are you still all supporting your purposes? Still got your purposes supported by your connections? Yeah, very good, okay. I would like at random, on each team, without any discussion, 3 people to drop the string.
Guys!
I wasn't sure.
No cheating, alright, we've all done that? Yeah. We've all done that? Final thought for the day. Right, so we've just disenfranchised 3 people from your team. What did that do to all of your connections? Made them a bit saggy and a bit weak. Yeah? How easy is it to reconnect? Try not to kick people out of your team. It's quite difficult to reconnect. And I think your purposes are all on the floor now. So if you one over here, where they glued their purpose to the string. Very good technique. I want you to have a little think now. This is it now. That's it. We can debrief this loads and loads and loads, but we don't have time. We've got to get out to the next person. But I'd like you to have a think about how this relates to your work and one thing that you might do differently to do with connections to people on your team when you go back to work. Yeah, think about one thing, tweet it at me. Tell me what you're going to do. Yeah? How are you going to find out about connections? Yeah? How are you going to make the connections support your purpose?
We're going to play this game.
Yeah? Play the game, take it. I will tweet a link to the instructions for this game as well, okay? I've got a PDF that explains the whole game. Set aside about an hour probably. Yeah, not 20 minutes. And do it with only 10 people. Thank you very much.